Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Real quick, I want to talk about generational curses. And I know that this is like a buzzword, a buzz phrase. I know a lot of people are sick of hearing it. I am too, but something has, I don't know, just propelled me to like share this message and maybe provide a different perspective on generational curses and what they are. So first and foremost, I don't believe in karma. I was taught to believe in karma and believe that if you do good, good things will happen. If you do bad, bad things will happen. But now that I've gotten older, grown up, and I've learned more about just energy and how things work, I understand that there's a loophole for everything, including karma. So I'm just giving this background because this is the perspective that I'm coming from in this video. So I believe that karma is not real unless you decide to believe in it, unless you put your thought energy towards that. And anything that you believe in will become real, whether in theory or in practice. So with that in mind, a lot of people with like generational curses will say like, oh, because, you know, it goes pretty deep. And I think that it's a spectrum, and it can go from, okay, my family was always known to be cursed, like on some Stanley Yelnats, like holes type shit. Or it could even go from, you know, we're always just unlucky, or we always do this, or we always do that. And like, you know, my family has been on food stamps or help from the government for 5 generations now. It's just always been that way. It's just the curse, right? And so a lot of the times, what you hear people talk about now, like people my age and people younger, we talk about breaking generational curses, but really they're not generational curses. It's more so habitual behaviors that we're breaking, if that makes sense, right? And this even goes into, mind you, I have nothing like scientific necessarily to back this up, but this is what I know to believe as true to me, because this is what I believe in. But even when it comes to sicknesses and mental health, a lot of people like to say that, okay, this runs in my family, schizophrenia runs in my family, diabetes runs in my family, all these things, you know, it's just something that we've dealt with for generations. It's something that my grandma had and her mom had and his dad had and all this other stuff, when really we're sitting around the dinner table eating the same things that our grandparents ate, that our fathers ate. And that's something that's seen as hereditary, when really it's just a behavior thing. Like, does that make sense? And so you can attribute, you know, any type of physical sickness or anything that you think that runs into the family, if you look at your own behaviors and the behaviors of those in your family who have similar conditions or similar issues, you're going to then find out that if you were to change your habits and change your behaviors, that you would no longer be affected by those conditions. And that's the same with like generational curses. A lot of people, like I said, like to think that they have generational curses and, oh, my family's just been workers, I'm the first entrepreneur, I'm breaking a generational curse, when really you are just participating in a different set of behaviors for a different outcome, and you're kind of taking a different path. And there's this video by Moses Hackman. I talk about him a lot in my water videos, but there's a video by Moses Hackman titled Family Fluid Dynamics, and he literally speaks on this, and he says, you know, when your family for generations have been doing the same things over and over, and I'm paraphrasing here, he explains it a lot better in the video, but he says when you have generations of people who have been doing things over and over and over again, and then you decide to deviate from that path, it's going to take a little bit of work. And he was saying that the things that our ancestors were afflicted by and were impacted by are not necessarily the same things today. And we can see that even with like agriculture and farming, right? There were a lot more people who were more or less forced into being handymen, into being agriculture farmers, working the crops, working the fields, because that's what was needed, you know, 200 years ago, less than 200 years ago even. 1 second. Okay, sorry. So like I was saying, like with people who work in the farming industry, like if your dad was a farmer, you know, a few 100 years ago, even as early as, you know, maybe 100 years ago, if you came from a family of farmers, then you were more than likely going to be a farmer. If you came from a family of doctors or lawyers, then that's what you were going to do. And we still do see that, like, traditionally in certain cultures across the world, even still, like with the advent of technology, you still do see that a little bit, but things are different now, right? And we're not afflicted by the same things. So that's why it feels so difficult too sometimes, because you're not only going against what the people in your immediate family are doing, if you are going against the grain, and this can be literally with anything, with wanting to move states, wanting to move countries, wanting to become an entrepreneur when everybody that you know and everybody that you've grown up with was maybe just a worker, or maybe they just worked until they were a certain age and then retired. You see this in so many different ways. And so when you deviate from that path, or when you take a different direction, what happens is you're not only feeling the tension and the, what's the word? I guess apprehension. I don't know if that's the right word, but you're not only feeling a pull and, you know, a certain reaction from the people around you, but I think also from a biological perspective, if you had ancestors and people who came before you who had to deal with certain things, you're automatically going to be predispositioned to make certain decisions and to have these warning signs come off, even if the threat is not there. I think that's what I want to say. That's how it's making sense in my brain. So even if a threat is not there, because somebody may have experienced that a couple of generations before you and it's been so ingrained into the behaviors of the generations before you, it might be affecting you now. And so that's really what a generational curse or generational effects would be. And that's really what, I don't know, I don't think karma would necessarily fall into the same category as that, but yeah, that's just something that I wanted to talk about, because as I take my own journey, I don't know, I kind of feel myself like just apprehensive about some things, and I feel myself kind of being pulled in a certain direction, and I'm not really, I think before I didn't understand why, but now I see why it's so obvious now. Like ever since I kind of learned this information and took it in and believed it to be true, I can kind of see it as more obvious, and now I can take the steps and understand like, okay, I'm becoming apprehensive, or I'm getting scared, or I'm getting nervous because this is just out of my wheelhouse. You know what I'm saying? And the example that Moses Hackman gave was, he's like, let's imagine that you have a river, right? Because he, you know, talks about us being bodies of water and consciousness being water. And he was just saying, you know, let's say that you have a river that's been flowing in a certain direction for hundreds of years, and then all of a sudden you want to change directions of the river. It's going to take some forging and some pushing and some time, and not even necessarily to mean effort, but and not even necessarily, sorry, to mean effort, but just when you're going in a different direction, it's going to, when you're going against the grain, it's not going to be as easily flowing as the direction that you've always been going in, or that your family or the generations before you have always been going in. So yeah, guys, that's just something that's been on my mind. Like, if you're someone who thinks that you're just plagued by generational curses and things are so difficult and so hard, it's like there's a reason that it feels this way, and you don't have to feel this way. Also, that's another conversation, I guess, for another video, but there is a reason why you feel this way, and then you also don't necessarily have to feel this way and have to take on these emotions and these feelings, and you can still maybe feel the fear and feel the tension and the apprehensiveness and still push forward and succeed despite what might be going on in your brain, despite what might be happening biologically, physiologically, sorry, anything like that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think below. I would love to have a discussion about it. I think I've talked in a few videos just about some of the things that I'm trying, the things that I'm learning, and the things that I'm going through, and like the, you know, the doubt and the fear that I feel. But this perspective and this mindset really helped me like push through in certain ways. So let me know if you feel the same way. Let me know if you guys have any questions, or even if you want to tell me like about your own story. I would love to hear it. And yeah, I'll see you guys at the next video.